Fear. Fear, the most powerful prison in the world, doesn't have walls. It doesn't have guards. It doesn't have locks. Yet millions of people spend their entire lives trapped inside it. The saddest part, most of them never realize the door was never locked. Fear is the reason dreams die before they begin. Fear is why talented people stay invisible. Fear is why potential becomes regret. Fear is why people settle for lives they secretly hate. And tonight, we're going to face it. Not run from it. Not ignore it. We're going to look fear directly in the eyes. Because everything you've ever wanted is waiting on the other side of it. The life you dream about, the success you imagine, the person you're capable of becoming, it's all there. But fear stands between you and that future. And today, that changes. Because by the end of this video, you will understand something that most people never discover. Fear is not your enemy. Fear is your test. And every great life is built by passing it. Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff. Your heart races, your hands shake, your mind fills with worst-case scenario. What if I fail? What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? What if everyone laughs at me? Those questions sound familiar, don't they? Because fear speaks the same language to everyone. It whispered to the entrepreneur before they started their business. It whispered to the athlete before the championship. It whispered to the artist before showing their work. It whispered to the speaker before stepping onto the stage. It whispered to every successful person you've ever admired. The difference is not that they were fearless. The difference is that they moved anyway. And that's the first lesson. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is action despite fear. If you're waiting to stop being afraid before you act, you'll wait forever, because fear doesn't disappear before action. Fear disappears because of action. Every step forward weakens it. Every challenge faced shrinks it. Every obstacle overcome exposes it. And eventually, you realize something incredible. The monster you feared was never as powerful as you imagined. Think back to your childhood. Remember the things that terrified you, the dark room, the shadows, the noises at night. Back then, they felt enormous, but today, you laugh at them. Why? Because knowledge destroyed fear, experience destroyed fear, growth destroyed fear. The same thing is true right now. The fear controlling your life today will one day look small, but only if you face it. Only if you move toward it. Only if you refuse to let it decide your future. Because fear grows in darkness. It grows when avoided. It grows when ignored. It grows when you give it power. But the moment you confront it, something changes. The illusion starts to break. And that's exactly what fear is. An illusion, not always a lie, but almost always an exaggeration. Fear tells you the worst possible outcome. It never tells you the best. Fear tells you everything that could go wrong. It never tells you everything that could go right. Fear says you'll fail. It never mentions that you might succeed beyond your wildest expectations. Fear says you'll be rejected. It never mentions that someone might believe in you. Fear says you'll lose. It never mentions what you could gain. That's because fear isn't interested in truth. Fear is interested in protection. Its job is to keep you safe. But here's the problem. The same mechanism that protects you from danger can also protect you from greatness. And many people spend their entire lives safe. Safe from failure, safe from embarrassment, safe from rejection, safe from risk, safe from growth, safe from success, safe from life itself. And then one day they wake up old, not exhausted from trying, exhausted from wondering what would have happened if they had been brave, wondering who they could have become, wondering how much life they traded for comfort. That regret hurts far more than failure ever could. Failure teaches. Regret haunts, failure lasts a moment. Regret can last a lifetime. So ask yourself a question. 5 years from now, what will hurt more? Trying and failing, or never trying at all? Because every dream comes with a price, and that price is fear. Every level of growth requires you to walk through uncertainty. Every breakthrough requires discomfort. Every transformation requires courage. There is no shortcut. There is no secret path. There is only one road, and it passes directly through fear. The people who build extraordinary lives understand this. They don't run away from fear. They use it as a compass. If something scares them and aligns with their purpose, they move toward it. Because they know fear often points toward growth. Fear often points toward opportunity. Fear often points toward the next version of themselves. The question isn't whether you're afraid. The question is whether you're willing to move anyway, because your future self is waiting. The stronger version of you, the wiser version of you, the successful version of you, the version of you that has already conquered what terrifies you today. That person exists, but they cannot meet you where you are. You must walk toward them. One fearful step at a time, one courageous decision at a time, one act of faith at a time. And every step you take sends a message to your mind, a message to your future, a message to fear itself. The message is simple. You no longer control me. I control me. And from that moment forward, everything begins to change. Because fear loses its power the second you stop obeying it. Fear has stolen more dreams than failure ever will. Think about that. Most people don't lose because they tried and failed. Most people lose because they never tried at all. They surrendered before the battle began. They accepted defeat before taking the first step. And the tragedy is that nobody notices. When someone fails publicly, everyone sees it. But when someone quietly abandons a dream, the world keeps moving. No headlines, no audience, no dramatic ending, just another dream disappearing in silence. A business never started, a book never written, a skill never learned, a life never fully lived, and all because of fear. Fear has a strange way of disguising itself. Sometimes it doesn't sound like fear. Sometimes it sounds like logic. It says, wait until you're ready. Wait until the timing is perfect. Wait until you know more. Wait until you're confident. But here's the truth. You will never feel completely ready. The perfect moment does not exist. Confidence does not come before action. Confidence comes from action. Nobody starts as an expert. Nobody starts fearless. Nobody starts prepared for everything. Every successful person began as a beginner. Every expert once felt lost. Every champion once doubted themselves. The difference is they started before they felt ready. They trusted that clarity would come from movement. Because standing still never creates confidence. Standing still creates more fear. Fear feeds on hesitation. The longer you wait, the bigger it becomes. The longer you delay, the more convincing it sounds. The longer you avoid the challenge, the more impossible it appears. That's why action is so powerful. Action interrupts fear. Action breaks its momentum. Action proves your mind wrong. And often, the hardest part isn't doing the thing. The hardest part is starting the first conversation, the first workout, the first video, the first application, the first attempt, the first step. Because once you begin, you discover something amazing. The mountain wasn't as high as you imagined. The obstacle wasn't as impossible as you believed. The fear wasn't as powerful as it seemed. Your imagination had magnified it. Your mind had exaggerated it. And reality was far less frightening. This happens every day. People spend months fearing a conversation that lasts 10 minutes. They spend years fearing a challenge they overcome in weeks. They spend entire lifetimes fearing judgments that others forget in seconds. Fear loves exaggeration. Reality loves truth. And truth is almost always less terrifying. There is a reason diamonds are formed under pressure. There is a reason steel becomes stronger through fire. There is a reason the strongest people often have the hardest stories. Growth requires resistance. Strength requires challenge. Transformation requires discomfort. Nature understands this. Yet humans spend so much energy trying to avoid it. We want success without struggle, confidence without uncertainty, victory without risk. But life doesn't work that way. Every meaningful achievement demands something from you. Every new level asks you to become someone stronger, someone wiser, someone more resilient. And fear is often the gatekeeper. It's the test standing between your current self and your future self. Most people see fear and turn around. A few people see fear and move forward. Those few become the people everyone else admires. Not because they are special, not because they are lucky, not because they were born different, because they made a different decision. They decided that temporary discomfort was worth long-term growth. They decided that uncertainty was better than regret. They decided that courage mattered more than comfort. And that single decision changed everything. Imagine if every time fear appeared, you saw it differently. Instead of viewing it as a warning sign, you viewed it as an opportunity sign. Instead of thinking, "This scares me, so I shouldn't do it," you thought, "This scares me, so maybe it matters." That shift changes everything. Because fear often appears when you're standing at the edge of growth. Fear often appears when you're about to discover your potential. Fear often appears right before a breakthrough. Think about some of the greatest moments in your life. The opportunities that changed everything, the risks that paid off, the decisions that shaped your future. Were you calm when they happened? Probably not. You were nervous. You were uncertain. You were afraid. Yet you acted anyway. And because you acted, your life moved forward. The same principle applies today. Whatever challenge you're facing, whatever dream you're chasing, whatever goal feels impossible, fear does not mean stop. Fear does not mean quit. Fear does not mean turn back. Sometimes fear simply means you're getting closer. Closer to growth, closer to transformation, closer to becoming who you're meant to be. One day, your life will become a story. People may never read it. It may never become famous. But it will still be a story. The question is, what kind of story will it be? Will it be a story about hesitation? A story about excuses? A story about opportunities ignored? A story about dreams abandoned? Or will it be a story about courage? A story about resilience? A story about getting up every time life knocked you down? A story about refusing to let fear decide your future? Because every chapter is being written right now. Every decision matters. Every action matters. Every moment of courage matters. The person you become tomorrow depends on the choices you make today. Not someday, not next year. Today, right now, this moment. And the beautiful thing about courage is that it compounds. Just like fear compounds when ignored, courage compounds when practiced. One brave decision leads to another. One victory creates momentum. One act of courage creates confidence. And eventually, the person who once doubted everything becomes the person others look to for inspiration, not because they never felt fear, because they learned how to walk through it. There is a version of you that already exists in the future, a stronger version, a wiser version, a more disciplined version, a more successful version, a more confident version. That future version of you is looking back right now, watching every excuse, watching every hesitation, watching every moment you almost quit, and they're begging you to keep going. Because they know what happens if you don't. They know how much potential is waiting ahead. They know how much strength you haven't discovered yet. They know how capable you truly are. But you can only meet that version of yourself by moving forward. Not by waiting, not by wishing, not by hoping, by acting. Every day, even when you're scared, even when you're uncertain, even when progress feels invisible. Because progress is often happening beneath the surface. Just like roots grow underground before a tree appears above it. Just like a seed transforms long before anyone sees the result. Your growth may be invisible right now, but that doesn't mean it isn't happening. Trust the process. Trust the struggle. Trust the journey. Most importantly, trust yourself. Because you've survived every difficult day you've ever faced. Every challenge, every setback, every disappointment, every painful chapter. You're still here. You're still standing. You're still fighting. And that proves something important. You are stronger than fear wants you to believe. Far stronger. And the moment you truly understand that, fear begins to lose its grip forever. There comes a moment in every person's life when they must make a choice. Not a small choice. Not a choice about what to wear or where to go. A deeper choice. A life-defining choice. A choice between who they are and who they could become. And standing between those two versions of themselves is fear. Fear of failure. Fear of rejection. Fear of being judged. Fear of being misunderstood, of losing. Fear of not being enough. Fear has many names, but it always asks the same question: will you surrender? And every day, people answer that question. Some answer with excuses. Some answer with hesitation. Some answer with silence. But the people who transform their lives answer differently. They answer with action, even when their hands shake, even when their hearts race, even when they don't know how things will turn out. Because they understand something powerful. Life rewards movement, not perfection, not certainty, movement. The world belongs to those willing to take a step before they can see the entire staircase. Most people underestimate what they are capable of. Not because they lack talent, not because they lack intelligence, not because they lack opportunity. They underestimate themselves because fear has convinced them they are smaller than they truly are. Fear whispers limitations. Fear tells stories. Stories about why you can't. Stories about why you shouldn't. Stories about why you're different. Stories about why success belongs to other people. And if you listen long enough, those stories start feeling real. But they are still stories, nothing more. Because history is filled with people who ignored those stories. People who were told they couldn't. People who were told they wouldn't. People who were told they shouldn't. And they did it anyway. They weren't fearless. They were determined. Determined enough to trust possibility more than fear. Determined enough to keep moving when doubt screamed louder than confidence. Determined enough to continue when quitting seemed easier. And that's the secret. Success is rarely about being fearless. Sex is about being persistent. Fear sees you stoppy. Persistence says continue. Fear sees quit. Persistence says one more step. Fear says impossible. Persistence says try. And the overachiever wins. Every single time. Think about how powerful a river is. Not because it's the strongest thing in nature, but because it never stops moving. A river can carve through mountains, not through force, through consistency. Day after day, year after year, it keeps moving. Eventually, even stone gives way. Your life works the same way. You don't need superhuman strength. You don't need extraordinary talent. You don't need perfect conditions. You need consistency. You need the willingness to keep going when motivation disappears. Because motivation is temporary. Purpose lasts. Motivation comes and goes. Purpose remains. Motivation is emotional. Purpose is a decision. And when fear shows up, purpose becomes your anchor. Purpose reminds you why you started. Purpose reminds you what matters. Purpose reminds you what is at stake. Because fear becomes smaller when your reason becomes bigger. A parent works through fear because their family matters more. An athlete pushes through fear because the dream matters more. An entrepreneur risks failure because the vision matters more. Find a reason powerful enough, and fear loses much of its influence. One of the greatest lies fear ever tells is this: you have time, not forever, not today, not now, later, tomorrow, next week, next year. Fear loves delay, because delay creates comfort. Comfort creates stagnation, and stagnation slowly steals potential. The truth is that life moves faster than anyone expects. Days become weeks, weeks become months, months become years. And before you know it, opportunities have passed. Moments have disappeared. Dreams have faded. Not because they were impossible, because they were postponed. There is incredible power in understanding this. Because once you realize time is limited, fear loses one of its greatest weapons. You stop waiting for the perfect moment. You stop waiting for perfect confidence. You stop waiting for certainty. You start acting. You start living. You start becoming. Because you realize that waiting carries risks too. People fear failure. But few people fear wasted years. People fear embarrassment. But few people fear unrealized potential. People fear rejection. But few people fear regret. Yet, regret is often the heavier burden. Regret follows people for decades. Regret revisits them in quiet moments. Regret asks difficult questions. What if? What could have happened? Who could I have become? Those questions are painful. Far more painful than temporary failure. Failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is part of success. Every successful person has failed. Usually more times than anyone knows. The world sees victories. The world rarely sees the struggles, the sleepless nights, the setbacks, the disappointments, the sacrifices, the moments of doubt, the moments they wanted to quit, the moments they questioned everything. But those moments are where greatness is built. Not in comfort, not in applause, not in easy victories. Greatness is built in the difficult moments. The moments when nobody is watching. The moments when giving up feels reasonable. The moments when continuing requires faith. Because character is not created when life is easy. Character is revealed. Character is created when life becomes difficult, when pressure increases, when challenges multiply, when fear arrives. That's when you discover who you really are. Not who you pretend to be, not who others think you are. Who you truly are. And often, what you discover is far stronger than you expected. There is a strength inside you that has not been tested yet. A resilience you have not fully discovered. A courage waiting to emerge. Most people never find it because they spend their lives avoiding the situations that would reveal it. They avoid challenges. They avoid discomfort. They avoid uncertainty, and in doing so, they avoid their own potential. Don't make that mistake. Allow life to challenge you. Allow yourself to grow. Allow yourself to struggle. Because struggle is not evidence that you're failing. Struggle is evidence that you're developing. A butterfly struggles to leave its cocoon. An eagle struggles against the wind. A diamond forms under pressure. Growth has always required resistance. You are no exception. The difficult season you're facing right now may be preparing you for a future you cannot yet see. The challenge you're experiencing may be building strengths you'll rely on later. The fear you're confronting today may become the story that inspires someone else tomorrow. Nothing is wasted when you keep moving forward. Nothing. Every setback teaches. Every obstacle strengthens. Every challenge prepares. Every fear conquered becomes proof of what you're capable of, and that proof matters. Because confidence isn't built by thinking. Confidence is built by doing, by facing fear, by surviving difficulty, by proving to yourself over and over again that you can handle more than you once believed. And with every challenge conquered, your identity begins to change. You stop seeing yourself as fragile. You stop seeing yourself as limited. You stop seeing yourself as incapable. You begin seeing yourself for what you truly are. Someone stronger than circumstance. Someone greater than fear. Someone capable of creating a life far beyond what doubt once allowed them to imagine. And that realization changes everything. Achisomi, point you have stopping life for Gurese. Because life doesn't give guarantees, it gives opportunities. And opportunities often arrive disguised as uncertainty. That's why so many people miss them. They're looking for certainty. They're waiting for a sign. They're waiting for absolute proof that everything will work out. But certainty is a luxury that growth rarely provides. Nobody knows exactly how the story ends when they're in the middle of writing it. Nobody sees the entire path. Nobody has all the answers. The people who move forward aren't the ones who know everything. They're the ones willing to move despite not knowing everything. And that's where faith becomes powerful. Not blind faith, not unrealistic faith. Faith in your ability to adapt. Faith in your ability to learn. Faith in your ability to survive challenges. Faith in your ability to figure things out. Because if you look back on your life, you've already done it many times. There were moments you thought you wouldn't survive. Yet here you are. There were problems you thought would break you. Yet here you are. There were obstacles that seemed impossible. Yet here you are. Stronger, wiser, more experienced, more resilient. You have already overcome things that once terrified you. Never forget that. The evidence of your strength is written throughout your entire life. Fear simply hopes you'll ignore it. One of the most dangerous habits in the world is comparing your journey to someone else's. Fear loves comparison. Because comparison creates doubt, and doubt creates hesitation. You see someone further ahead, someone more successful, someone more talented, someone more experienced. And suddenly your progress feels insignificant. But comparison is a trap, because you're comparing your beginning to someone else's middle, your chapter 1 to their chapter 20, your struggle to their highlight reel, and that's unfair. Everyone starts somewhere. Every master was once a beginner. Every expert was once confused. Every leader was once uncertain. Every successful person was once unknown. The goal isn't to be better than someone else. The goal is to become better than you were yesterday. That's it. Small improvements, small victories, small steps forward. Those small steps change everything over time. People underestimate the power of consistency because results aren't immediate. But consistency is how ordinary people achieve extraordinary things. One workout doesn't transform a body. One book doesn't transform a mind. One day doesn't transform a life. But repeated effort does. Repeated discipline does. Repeated courage does. Day after day, month after month, year after year. Eventually, the impossible becomes reality. Fear often convinces people that they need massive change, a dramatic breakthrough, a life-changing moment. But most transformation happens quietly. It happens through daily choices. The decision to continue, the decision to try again, the decision to show up, the decision to improve, the decision to keep moving. These decisions may seem small, but they create momentum, and momentum is powerful. A train requires enormous energy to start moving, but once it gains momentum, it becomes incredibly difficult to stop. Human beings are the same way. The hardest part is often beginning. Once momentum develops, progress becomes easier. The challenge is surviving the early stages, the stage where nobody notices, the stage where results are invisible, the stage where doubt is loud, the stage where fear says quit. Most people quit there, not because they lack ability, because they lack patience, because they expect immediate results, because they mistake slow progress for no progress. Don't make that mistake. A seed doesn't become a tree overnight. Yet every day it grows. quietly, invisible to the world. Your progress may be invisible too. Keep going. Growth is happening, even when you can't see it. The strongest people aren't the ones who never break. They're the ones who rebuild again and again. Life will knock you down. That is guaranteed. You will experience setbacks. You will experience disappointment. You will experience failure. You will experience loss. Nobody escapes these realities. The question isn't whether you'll fall. The question is what you'll do after you fall. Will you stay down? Will you surrender? Will you allow one difficult chapter to define your entire story? Or will you rise? Will you learn? Will you continue? Because every setback contains a lesson. Every failure contains information. Every challenge contains growth, if you're willing to look for it. Some of the strongest people in the world were forged by adversity. Not because adversity is pleasant, because adversity demanded growth. It demanded resilience. It demanded courage. It demanded adaptation. And through those demands, stronger individuals emerged. The obstacle became the teacher. The challenge became the training ground. The fear became the catalyst. Imagine if every challenge you've faced had a purpose. Imagine if every setback was preparing you for something greater. Imagine if every difficult season was building strength you would one day need. How differently would you view your struggles? How differently would you view your fears? You would stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this teaching me? That question changes everything. Because victims focus on circumstances. Leaders focus on lessons. Victims focus on problems. Leaders focus on solutions. Victims focus on obstacles. Leaders focus on opportunities. And the difference isn't talent. The difference isn't luck. The difference is perspective. The way you interpret your experiences determines the power those experiences have over you. Fear says you're stuck. Growth says you're learning. Fear says you're defeated. Growth says you're developing. Fear says it's over. Growth says it's only the beginning. Choose your perspective carefully, because your perspective shapes your future. There will always be reasons to quit, always. The timing won't be perfect. The conditions won't be ideal. The path won't be easy. The outcome won't be guaranteed. If you're looking for reasons to stop, you'll find them. But if you're looking for reasons to continue, you'll find those too. The choice is yours. Focus determines reality. What you repeatedly focus on grows stronger. Focus on fears. Focus on obstacles, and obstacles dominate your thinking. Focus on possibilities, and opportunities become visible. Focus on growth, and progress accelerates. Your mind is powerful. Powerful enough to build your future. Powerful enough to destroy it. Powerful enough to create confidence. Powerful enough to create doubt. Which direction it moves depends largely on what you feed it. Feed it excuses, and excuses grow. Feed it courage, and courage grows. Feed it discipline, and discipline grows. Feed it belief grows. Every day you are training your mind. The question is, what are you training it to become? Because the future version of you is being built right now through your habits, through your decisions, through your actions, through your mindset. And one day, you'll meet the person you're becoming. Make sure there's someone you're proud of. The world does not need another person hiding from their potential. The world does not need another dream abandoned because of fear. The world does not need another talented individual settling for less than they're capable of becoming. The world needs people willing to be courageous, people willing to try, people willing to fail, people willing to learn, people willing to grow, people willing to lead, people willing to rise. And that person can be you, not someday, not years from now. Today, the moment you decide fear will no longer make your decisions. The moment you decide your dreams matter more than your doubts. The moment you decide your future matters more than your comfort. The moment you decide that courage is no longer optional. That moment changes everything. Because from that moment forward, fear is no longer the author of your story. You are. Take a moment and imagine yourself 10 years from now, not the version of you that stayed comfortable, not the version of you that listened to every fear, not the version of you that quit when things became difficult. Imagine the version of you that kept going, the version that faced uncertainty, the version that embraced challenges, the version that refused to surrender. What does that person look like? How do they walk? How do they think? How do they speak? What kind of confidence do they carry? What kind of peace do they possess? What kind of life have they built? Now understand something important. That future version of you is not created by one giant moment. They're created by thousands of small decisions. The decision to keep moving, the decision to keep believing, the decision to keep learning, the decision to keep growing, the decision to keep fighting. Every day, every week, every month, every year. The future you desire is being built right now. Not tomorrow, not someday. Today, in this moment, with the decisions you make after hearing these words. Because information alone changes nothing. Inspiration alone changes nothing. Motivation alone changes nothing. Action changes everything. Action is where transformation begins. Action is where confidence is built. Action is where dreams become reality. Action is where fear loses its power. There will come days when you feel exhausted. Days when progress seems impossible. Days when your goals feel distant. Days when doubt becomes loud. Days when fear returns, and it will return. Fear never disappears completely, but that's okay. Because by then, you will understand something most people never learn. Fear doesn't have to disappear for you to win. It only has to stop controlling your decisions. You can feel fear and move forward. You can feel doubt and keep going. You can feel uncertainty and still take action. You can feel overwhelmed and continue the journey. Emotions do not determine destiny. Decisions do. And every time you choose courage over comfort, you become stronger. Every time you choose growth over safety, you become wiser. Every time you choose action over hesitation, you become more powerful. Not because the world changed, because you changed. And when you change, everything changes. One day, people may look at your success and call you lucky. They'll see the results. They'll see the victories. They'll see the accomplishments. But they won't see the battles. They won't see the mornings when you wanted to quit. They won't see the nights filled with uncertainty. They won't see the sacrifices. They won't see the fear you faced. They won't see the countless moments when you chose courage. But you'll know, you'll remember, You'll remember every difficult step, every challenge overcome, every obstacle conquered, every fear defeated. And you'll realize that success was never about luck. It was about persistence. It was about resilience. It was about refusing to surrender. It was about continuing long after others stopped. And that realization will be worth every struggle. Because you'll understand that the person you became was more valuable than the success itself. Money can be lost, achievements can fade, titles can disappear, but character remains, strength remains, wisdom remains, courage remains. The person you become through the journey stays with you forever. Fear wants you to believe you're alone. But you're not. Every great person who ever lived faced fear. Every leader, every innovator, every creator, every champion, every dreamer, every success story. Fear was there, standing in their way, questioning them, doubting them, testing them. And one by one, they made a decision, not a perfect decision. Not a fearless decision, a courageous decision. They moved anyway. And because they moved, history remembers them, not because they never felt fear, because they refused to bow to it. You have that same choice. Right now, at this very moment, you can continue living according to fear's instructions, or you can begin writing your own. You can continue shrinking your dreams to match your fears. Or you can grow your courage until it becomes larger than your fears. You can continue wondering what might happen, or you can. The choice is yours. Always wild be. Life is shorter than you think. One day, this journey will end. One day, the opportunities in front of you today will no longer exist. One day, the time you have now will be gone forever. And when that day arrives, there will only be one question that truly matters. Did you live? Not simply exist. Not simply survive. Did you live? Did you chase your dreams? Did you use your gifts? Did you embrace challenges? Did you take risks? Did you become the person you were capable of becoming? Or did fear make those decisions for you? Because at the end of life, comfort rarely creates pride. Courage does. Growth does. Contribution does. Become noise. The moments you'll remember most are not the moments when you played it safe. They're the moments when you stepped into uncertainty and discovered what you were truly capable of. So today, make a decision, a real decision. Not a temporary emotional promise, not a motivational moment that fades tomorrow. A decision. Decide that fear will no longer be your leader. Decide that doubt will no longer define your future. Decide that hesitation will no longer control your life. Decide that your dreams deserve a chance. Decide that your potential deserves to be explored. Decide that your future deserves your best effort, because nobody is coming to rescue you. Nobody is coming to build your dreams for you. Nobody is coming to unlock your potential. That responsibility belongs to you. And while that may sound intimidating, it's actually empowering, because it means the power has been in your hands all along. Not in circumstances, not in luck, not in other people's opinions, in your decisions, in your actions, in your persistence, in your courage. Right now, somewhere inside you, there is a dream, a vision, a goal, a possibility, something you've thought about for years, something you've been afraid to pursue, something fear has repeatedly told you to abandon. Do not abandon it. Feed it, protect it, work for it, fight for it, because that dream may be the reason you're here. That dream may be the path to the life you're meant to live. That dream may be waiting for the version of you that finally decides to be brave. And that version of you can begin today. Not when conditions improve, not when confidence arrives, not when fear disappears. Today, because courage is not waiting, courage is acting. Courage is stepping forward despite uncertainty. Courage is refusing to let fear write the ending of your story. And years from now, when you look back on this chapter of your life, you will not remember the fear. You will remember the moment you stopped listening to it. You will remember the moment you stood up, the moment you moved forward, the moment you chose growth over comfort, the moment you chose purpose over doubt, the moment you chose courage over fear. And that moment, that single decision, will become the turning point of your entire life. So stand up. Take the step. Faça brejo. Trust the journey. Trust your growth. Trust your future. Most importantly, trust yourself. Because you are stronger than you think, more capable than you know, more resilient than you realize. And the life you've been dreaming about is waiting on the other side of fear. If this message spoke to you, don't let it become another video you watch and forget. Make today the day you act. Make today the day you take the first step. Comment below. I choose courage. Write it as a promise to yourself, a commitment to your future. And if you know someone whose dreams are being held hostage by fear, share this video with them. Subscribe for more powerful motivation designed to help you unlock your full potential. Remember, fear may knock on your door, but courage decides who enters. Now, go build the life you're capable of living.